Welcome back to Harriet's Florida Kitchen. I'm Harriet. This is my kitchen, and we're here in Florida on a really sultry summer day. Now today, we are making chicken tetrazzini, which can also be made with turkey. And this is to honor the memory of a wonderful, lively, hilarious woman in the Hyde Park Presbyterian Church who's recently passed on to the great kitchen in the sky, sailboat, tennis courts in the sky. And she's great. She's a wonderful person, and the best way I could think of to honor her and say goodbye was to make one of her many fabulous recipes that she made for millions. Now, we the church, we the ladies of the church, people of the church, make this recipe by the ton every year. Sort of a committee of people get together and do it, or they've been doing it in their own houses during COVID. But there are many ways to make chicken or turkey tetrazzini, and I think all of them are fabulous, but they often take up a lot of pans. You'll use every pot and pan in your kitchen. You'll feel like you're feeding an army. This takes somewhat fewer pans. It is 50 times easier than most of the chicken tetrazzini recipes that I know about. It serves 10 or 12 people. But you can also break it up into, just as many of my recipes, you can do this. You can break it up into enough to feed a family of 4, enough to feed a family of 6. You can do it in the whole casserole. We, of course, put it in the freezer at the church, mark it with with some friendly sticker from the church, and we take it to people who've just had a baby. We take it to families who are bereaved. We take it to families there's been a surgery. And I have to confess that when I make it, I often end up having to make a whole nother recipe because my family motors through it before I can ever get it out the door. I put it in the little packages, I put it in the refrigerator, I put the stickers on it, and it goes right into the Plyler mouths. So if you can do that too. Tonight I'm making enough for my parents, I'm making enough for my husband, I'm making enough for my son. My daughter-in-law came by and said, we might make a little for us. So I am doing that. Now, you will be amazed and you see how easy it is, and you will also be amazed when I tell you that you can freeze it for as long as you want. We'll tell you at the end, I'll tell you how to do that.
Start by bringing a big pot of water to boil on the top of the stove, and then put the pieces of chicken in gently and carefully so that you don't burn yourself. And just sort of lay them into the pot and push them around a little bit. And then add a teaspoon of salt to the water. And if you want to add a sprig or two of sage, something like that, that'll just taste good with chicken, that would be fine. Do that. And then just roll it around. Then add a little pepper, if you want to, and put the lid on and let it boil for the full 30 minutes. It will cook during the 30 minutes, and it will come out looking a little bit pale and pitiful, but that'll be okay. Now, once it's done, you take the top off, and you carry it carefully in a separate bowl. Take out the pieces of chicken. Again, being very careful not to burn yourself. You're going to want to put the chicken off to the side while you do the rest of this. Now, save the pasta water. That's the thing, is do not be tempted to pour this all down the sink, because in just about a minute, you're going to put the pasta into this water. So all of the chicken pieces come out. Then you add the pasta, and you push the pasta on down into it. It doesn't have to be fancy pasta. This is vermicelli. And I like the vermicelli is really nice because it's nice and skinny, and you get a good proportion to chicken to sauce. And then you let that boil for whatever the instructions are on the box, usually about, say, 7 to 8 minutes. Okay. Now you drain the pasta. This time you can get rid of the water. And you can let that sit for just a minute or two while you begin to cut up the chicken. Now, if you get boneless breasts or boneless thighs, of course your life will be easier, but in this case I did keep the bone in because it does give it a little bit more flavor to keep the bone in, and even to do it with the skin on. But it's up to you, however you want to do it. Anyway, I was cutting around the bones, so this is a little trickier. So you get this all completely chopped up, and then you will end up with 4 cups of chicken, and that's of chicken or turkey, whatever you have. See, it's kind of shredded there, nice and small pieces. The next thing you do is, while you can let all that sit for a few minutes while you saute mushrooms. So you put an entire stick of butter in. That's 8 ounces of butter, for those of you who are not in America and don't have sticks of butter. And so you put that on a medium-high heat, and you flip around the butter, And then once that's completely melted, or almost melted anyway, I never quite can wait. I always want to hurry. Then you put in the mushrooms. And you saute those, push them around in the butter a little bit. You saute the mushrooms for probably 4 or 5 minutes. That can be on medium, high heat, slightly, or down to medium heat, either way. Anyway, you just want to get them nice and kind of brown is the idea. And you want to get those so that they can, nice and brown. That's all you have to do. And now comes the fun part. This is the assembling part. So you've poured the chicken in the bowl, you've poured the pasta in the bowl, and you've poured the mushrooms in the bowl. And naturally, the easiest thing to do would be to then assemble all of the soups and the sour cream as it says in the recipe. But did I do that? No, I did it the hard way. I put these all in separately, which makes it a kind of a pain to stir it up. Anyway, it is a little tough to stir this up. You can't do it with a spoon. You do have to take a few forks and kind of fork through it and pull it, because the more you can blend it, obviously, the better it is. You don't want somebody to get a great big to have a big bite of pasta and another just a bite of chicken. You'd like for these to be totally blended and delicious. So you put in a cup and a half, a can and a half of cream of chicken soup. Now, 10 ounces, an American can is 10 ounces, and so this is 10 and a half, so what is that, 15 ounces of soup. I won't do the math here right now, but if you have a standard kind of soup can, that's the size of it, and you put the cream of mushroom in, and then you put the sour cream in. Now, you'll notice that I only put in 1.5 cans in this scene because I had to go back. I realized I had forgotten them at the grocery store, and I had to go back and get the cream of chicken and put that in after I'd mixed it all up. But now we're putting in the sherry. Now, you can use any kind of sherry you want. I don't think it's good to use dry sherry. I think it either golden cocktail sherry, or I used Harvey's Bristol Cream. Just make sure that it is, I think if the nuttier it is, the better. Do not use cooking sherry. It's disgusting, and it's a little bit too salty. You don't ever use any kind of so-called cooking wine. Use real wine or use real sherry. In this case, sherry. All right, so you mix this all up until you get it really nicely blended. Ah, yes, here we are, back from the grocery store with the missing can of cream of chicken soup. So again, 1.5 cans of creamy chicken soup go into the final mix, which I happened to do even the next morning. I had put all of it into the refrigerator, waiting for the chicken to come back, waiting for the cream of chicken soup to arrive. And so now it's even harder to stir because it's chilly. So you throw it all together, and again, you get your forks out and you manhandle this incredibly heavy, thick, and wonderful mix. And you may even have to take a spatula to get all of the stuff up off the bottom as you're picking it up to get it completely mixed. And then you're ready to put it into, one more teaspoon of salt. I like. The first few times I made it, I thought it was a little bit bland, which you might like to do if you have people who are on a salt-free diet for any reason, so that they can add their own salt. But that was fine for me. I mean, I like the extra teaspoon of salt. Now, the time has come to put it into the containers. You can put it into a 9x13 inch casserole dish, but I was taking it to different people, so 2 small ones that I was going to take to my parents, 1 medium-sized one for Philip and me, 1 large one for my family members. So you use about a cup or a cup and a half of grated or shredded Parmesan, and you spread it around on top of all of them. You should loosely drop it in, and then you cover those with tin foil. Now you can put them with tin foil and put them into the refrigerator ready to cook. You can put them into the freezer. You might want to secure them a little bit more if you're putting them into the freezer. Maybe wrap it all around with saran wrap or more tin foil. But at any rate, the thing is, you're going to be keeping the tin foil on it when you put it in the oven. So however you do it, just make sure it's secure enough for that. When you put it in the oven, you're going to want to make sure that you can lift it off a little bit, because you might want to keep it in a little bit longer to brown it more. But not too complicated about how you do this. The next thing you do is you're going to put it into the oven at 350 for 35 minutes or longer as needed.
Okay, and now it is time, as always, to do a bit of a taste test. Let's see how this is. No, it smells just unbelievable. Let's see. Super. When have you ever heard me say anything else? It is so good. Oh my gosh, it's so hot. Well, hot. Get out of the oven. But it is, the flavor is perfect. You can just barely taste the sherry. You can just taste a little bit of you can taste each of the ingredients. You can taste the cheese. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Wait. I can't believe it's this easy. So, if you want to do this, of course, if you want to cook it immediately, feel free. Put it in a 9x13 pan, cook it for 35 minutes. I recommend you start looking at it at 35 minutes. I like for it to get really brown and bubbly, and just look at it. Just look at it until it gets not brown all over, but the edges get kind of singy looking, well, like you can see right here. Lift that sort of up. It gets kind of brown around the edges. It's really delicious. But before you cook it, if you want to freeze it, to have it for whatever purposes later, you just put the tin foil over it as you saw, and then freeze it. Defrost it by putting it in the refrigerator the day before you want to use it. Put it in the refrigerator, let it gently defrost overnight, and then it'll be ready for you to bake the next day. Keep the tin foil on it. So when you get to the 35, if you want to send it to somebody, write it on there. Just put 350 degrees, 35 minutes, slightly, parentheses. Maybe check it, see if you want to do it longer. Because at the very end, you can take the tin foil off to keep an eye on it. And if it looks like it's still a little pale in the middle, just cook it another 5, 10, 15 minutes. Just keep an eye on it. It's definitely cooked. Remember, you've already got cooked chicken. You've got cooked pasta. Everything, the soup doesn't need to be anything but warmed up. You've already cooked the mushrooms. So it's not like it's going to be bad. It's not like it needs to be cooked more for safety. It's just a matter of having it be bubbly and browny enough to your personal taste. Anyway, I realized I forgot to tell you when I was telling you this marvelous person I was doing this in honor of. It's my old friend, my good friend, Monk Brannon. And Monk, nobody would be more amused that I forgot to mention it at the beginning than Monk. I can't tell you how many years I've been at the front of the church doing a reading or something, and screw it up, say the names wrong, do something, and I can see Monk back in the back of the church, his shoulders just heaving. She loved it when I screwed up. So I say thank you and goodbye, Monk, and thank you to you for watching another Harriet's Florida Kitchen. Bye-bye.